I'll move over, Lisa.
Welcome everybody. Thank you for coming to the public hearing for the ballot measure for the Clean the Air Carbon Tax Act. So my name is Yoram Bauman. I'm an environmental economist by training. I make a living mostly doing stand-up comedy about economics. Unfortunately, this hearing is probably not going to be the place for a lot of economics jokes. But Dennis, you want to introduce yourself?
My name is Dennis Mullen. I'm a resident of West Jordan, Utah. I'm retired, and I'm here because I'm concerned about the air quality in the state, especially in Salt Lake Valley.
Great. So the ballot measure process for the state of Utah. So the state constitution gives the legislature and the people joint power to enact legislation. The ballot measure process involves filing with the Lieutenant Governor's office, and then there's a fiscal note. There should be a copy of the fiscal note posted by the door over there, which is required by state law, and we were also required to bring 50 copies. So is there anybody who wants a copy that didn't get one? It's fascinating reading. Anybody else? There also the fiscal note is kind of dense, so there's an explanation of the fiscal note. We have time to chat about it. We can chat about it. Pass one back to this gentleman. Yes.
When people speak, would they mind identifying themselves?
Yeah, we'll talk about that in a second too. Yep. So,
We're gonna have to
so the ballot measure process involves filing the ballot measure, and then it gets a fiscal note, and then we hold hearings around the state. The hearings are advertised to the county commissioners and all the state legislators and various other ways. So this is one of the 7 hearings that we are holding around the state, and then after we get feedback from the public hearings, etc., then we have an opportunity to print up petition packets and collect signatures, and if we get 150,000 signatures, which is not a little amount.
It's not a lot.
It's hard for a grassroots group. So 150,000 signatures, which is rough, that's the rough number. It's about 8% of registered voters in the state, and then we need to hit that same 8% target.
So I have a question right there. So is that 150,000 of our 6th county, or is that statewide?
No, I'm getting there. Yeah, so that's statewide. So it's 8% of active voters statewide, and then we need to hit that same 8% target in 26 of the 29 state Senate districts. So not counties, but state Senate districts. This public hearing is being recorded, by the way. We are also required to submit to the Lieutenant Governor's office either a recording of the hearing or notes that involve the names of speakers, their titles, and a summary of their comments. So you'll see Dennis and I working to make sure that happens. But this is an opportunity for the public to provide feedback. Maybe there's ways we can make our proposal better, or maybe you just want to provide feedback.
Can you spell your name?
My name? Mm-hmm. Sure. My name is Yoram, Y-O-R-A-M. Last name Bauman, B as in boy, A-U-M-A-N.
And you're the sponsor of this bill?
One of the sponsors.
Yes.
Yep. So, I thought what I would do is provide a brief overview of the measure, and then open it up for comments. And we'll do. I think I mentioned earlier, we'll do comments for 2 minutes, and then if there's, hopefully we'll finish this off by the top of the hour, by 12 o'clock. But if there's time after and everybody who wants to speak gets a chance to do their 2 minutes, then folks can have another 2 minutes. Does that seem good? Does anybody have a better idea? Okay. Should I do an overview?
Well, the Clean the Darn Air is a nonpartisan, nonprofit grassroots organization whose goal in life is to collect enough signatures to put on the 2024 general election ballot, and if passed, it would substitute a tax on food with a tax on fossil fuels.
So that's the big picture. There's sort of four elements of the policy, broadly speaking. There's $100 million a year for local air pollution programs. Okay. So $100 million a year for air pollution programs. That's actually what Governor Herbert asked for from the state legislature a few years ago and didn't get. I don't know if you saw in the news, but we had another red air day up along the Wasatch Front. Logan was particularly bad last week. It's a health problem. It's an economic. I think you'll have opportunities to speak in a few minutes, okay?
Question though.
You'll have opportunities to speak in a few minutes, okay? Please don't disrupt the hearing. Thank you. All right, so it's a health problem. I have young children. We're concerned about their health. One of the other members of our group is a nurse who has asthma and likes to go outside, but can't go outside when the air quality is really bad. It's an economic challenge in terms of folks not wanting to move to our beautiful state if they see bad air quality. So $100 million a year for local air quality programs. There's $50 million a year in the proposal for rural economies around the state, for parts of the state that are struggling economically and or don't have the air quality problems that you often see along the Wasatch Front. There are some rural parts of the state, like out in the Uinta Basin and stuff, that do have air quality problems. But $50 million a year for rural economies in the state, that's through the Governor's Office of Economic Opportunity. As Dennis mentioned, eliminating the state sales tax on grocery store food. This has been a contentious issue. Some of you may have signed a referendum a couple years ago about the sales tax on grocery store food when the legislature tried to raise it. So our proposal eliminates the state sales tax on grocery store food. There's also an expansion of the earned income tax credit, which is a benefit for low-income working families in the state. So if you or someone you know qualifies for the federal program, the earned income tax credit, it's a great policy that helps low-income working families, especially families with children. The state legislature actually recently passed a 10% non-refundable match of the federal earned income tax credit. That goes into effect this year, so if you file your taxes by April 15th of this year and you qualify for the federal earned income tax credit, then you may also qualify for a tax credit at the state level thanks to this new program that the state legislature passed a year or two ago. So that's an existing 10% non-refundable match of the federal earned income tax credit. Our policy would create a 20% refundable match of the earned income tax credit. So that would take that policy from being roughly a $15 million a year policy that the legislature passed to roughly a $90 million a year policy in terms of benefits for low-income working families, especially low-income working families with children. And we have some data about this. Roughly 20% of households, about 18% of households in Utah qualify for the federal earned income tax credit, and the average amount of the tax credit federally is about $2,200. So our 20% match would boost that by about $370 on average for about 18% of households in Utah. So that's the third part of the policy, right? So we have money for clean air, money for rural economies, eliminate the state sales tax on grocery store food, expand the earned income tax credit, match for low-income working families, and then the last part of the policy is to pay for it all with a modest carbon tax on the fossil fuels that contribute to local air pollution and global climate change.
What is modest?
Get to that in a moment, all right? Feel free to come on in. There's some more chairs up here, and there's seats in the back. Are there folks who have come in who didn't get a chance to sign up who want to speak? Anybody who wants to speak who hasn't gotten a chance to sign up?
You signing for participants who are here?
This is just to sign up for speaking.
Barry, do you want to speak? Barry, do you want to speak?
There are a
Folks who wanna
couple of
speak?
chairs.
And there are also copies of the fiscal note up here for folks who want.
Folks, there are a couple of chairs over here. I guess we wouldn't come with them.
And the address that I got.